I just bought Apple's latest flagship phone, the AI-powered iPhone 16. But I'm fully aware about a confidential informant, a CI, a sophisticated surveillance apparatus that feeds everything, and I mean virtually everything, back into its grandmasters. And if you think that end-to-end encryption will save you, think again, because while the old slogan, what happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone, is literally true, Apple's AI stays right there with it, watching, parsing, scoring, analyzing, turning your most private moments into pre-crime predictions ready for quiet escalation. Worst of all of this is done without consent and without even the possibility of opting out. Now let me explain. This phone wears a pretty screen. It speaks in polite notifications. But behind that polished glass it watches, it listens, and it judges. The iPhone 16 or any other AI-powered phone isn't just a product, it's a participant. It's a participant in the quiet dismantling of personal privacy, in the rise of predictive policing, in the normalization of citizens' surveillance. And Apple has stopped even pretending otherwise. So let's talk about Apple's privacy illusion, or better, how I call it, privacy deception. Apple's marketing over the last decades crafted an image of benevolence. Privacy wasn't just a feature, it was a moral crusade. What happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone. This slogan felt like a rebellion in the age of surveillance capitalism. Tim Cook's speeches dripped with righteous indignations towards big tech rivals. Unlike others, he said, unlike others, we don't need to know your personal life to make money. That's what he touted at conferences, and millions believed him. But Apple's real innovation wasn't protecting privacy, it was rebranding surveillance as privacy. Apple redefined what privacy meant so that total behavioral analysis could occur inside the device itself without technically sending your data anywhere. The iPhone 16's on-device AI is the crowning achievement of this very deception. Under the hood, it's not a fortress that protects you from spying, it's a microscope, and you are the specimen. Privacy as Apple practices it now means only this: we spy on you, but the servers live in your pocket. So how was encryption euthanized? In theory, end-to-end encryption means no one, no hackers, no government, not even Apple, can read your messages or have access to your images or apps. That's what they promised. Reality? With the iPhone 16's AI integration, encryption is a stage prop. Because if your device reads your messages before encrypting it or after decrypting it, what exactly is being protected? Picture this: you open Signal to send a private thought. Before you even tap send, Apple's on-device AI parses every word. It analyzes sentiment, flags keywords, and calculates risks. And later, when you receive a message, Apple's systems again assist you by predicting replies, suggesting actions, nudging tone. Encryption is now window dressing for a room that's already being recorded. So it doesn't matter that third parties can intercept the data you transmit. The betrayal happens before the transmission even begins. Your private conversations are first parsed, classified, and potentially flagged by your own hardware, for which you paid a lot of money, as I can testify. And if flagged enough times, your device itself may initiate reporting mechanisms or quietly feed metadata to the mothership. This isn't just theoretical either. Apple's architecture allows client-side scanning to escalate after local risk scores hit secret thresholds. That's a blueprint first exposed during the 2021 CSAM scanning scandal. They built the system, applied it, and after the scandal broke, simply rebranded it. And the encryption, the very one that you trust, is now nothing more than an elaborate magic trick. It's distracting you with one hand while deceiving you with the other. But the iPhone 16 doesn't just scan your words, it also watches everything in your world. Every photo you take, every image you save is now analyzed in real time by Apple's on-device AI. Not just for fun, not just for facial grouping or dynamic slideshows, but for risk profiling. Never forget, every image is a potential crime scene. Apple has quietly built a system that classifies images into semantic categories. Child nudity, protest activity, weapons, controlled substances, tattoos linked to gang databases, improvised explosive device components. And it doesn't just recognize objects. It identifies faces and not just yours. Apple's photo engine links image content to your contacts, your location data, and your activity patterns. And all this happens without your knowledge. Apple claims this was for your benefit, to help you find all the photos of dogs in your library. But underneath the surface, the engine that detects dogs can also detect flags, uniforms, people of interest, and symbols deemed suspicious by law enforcement databases. We saw exactly this in 2021 when Apple rolled out its neural hash system to detect child abuse material. It was on device. It matched photo hashes against a government-supplied database. It would silently count the matches, and once a threshold was passed, alert Apple, who would then alert authorities. That program was eventually paused, but the infrastructure wasn't removed. It was expanded. Today, the same image parsing engine is tuned not just for CSAM, but for all kinds of risky content. You won't know when your photos have been flagged. There's no warning, no pop-up, no consent. Your phone sees the photo of you at a protest, for example, with a political slogan in the background. It silently classifies it, adds it to your profile, stores the tag, ready to cooperate if asked. And you keep scrolling through your photos and memories, of course, but you never realize that your phone actually has already taken sides, and it's not your side. Let's have a look at Apple's quiet, very quiet, pact with law enforcement. Publicly, Apple frames itself as the digital privacy hero. They famously refused to unlock an iPhone for the FBI after the 2015 San Bernardino attack. But behind the curtain, Apple is far less defiant. In 2020, Reuters revealed that Apple quietly dropped the plan to fully encrypt iCloud backups after the FBI privately objected. Apple didn't deny it, they simply stopped talking about the plan altogether. The compromise was never publicized, but the meaning was clear. Apple talks privacy in public, but grants access behind closed doors. And this pattern repeats, of course, across jurisdictions. In China, Apple stores use data on government-controlled servers. In the US, Apple complies with national security letters. Those are secret orders that prohibit companies from even disclosing the fact that they have received one. Apple's transparency reports admit to thousands of such requests per year, most of which are complied with. And with iPhone 16, the game has taken a dramatic turn for the worse, at least for the user, that's you. Now, to be clear, Apple doesn't have to hand over decrypted content because the device itself can hand over the conclusions. Did the photo parser tag 17 images as extremist material? Did the AI scanner detect several threatening communications this month? Is your phone's behavioral model suggesting you might be a risk? Apple can simply relay that metadata or act on it with plausible deniability. How great is that? They didn't decrypt your message. They didn't send any of your actual data. They didn't open your photo album. They simply let the AI make a few observations and quietly act on its findings. Plausible deniability is important for companies like Apple because if and when authorities knock on their door, They can say, we received a tip from our internal systems. Internal systems they built. Internal systems trained to think like cops. Systems trained to spy on you. Here's where it's getting really dark and Orwellian. The iPhone 16 isn't just parsing content, it's predicting behavior. Modern Apple AI is capable of sentiment analysis, language modeling, behavioral mapping, social graph scoring, location-based inferences, and much, much more. This means that your phone is generating real-time predictions about your future behavior. And unlike traditional law enforcement tools, which rely on, say, warrants and suspicion, your phone's model doesn't need probable cause, it just needs patterns. Say you text friends using sarcastic political humor, or you browse articles about encrypted messaging. You show up at a few public demonstrations. You use a privacy-focused email service. Individually, all these facts are innocuous. But Apple's AI model isn't analyzing them individually. It looks at correlations, clusters, deviations from the average, indicators of non-normative behavior, whatever that is. You don't need to commit a crime. You just need to fit the shape of someone who might. Apple's AI then assigns a risk score not visible to you, but alive inside your device. And when that score crosses a hidden threshold, it can trigger an action. Your Apple ID, for example, could get locked. A system flag gets raised to Apple's law enforcement response center. I didn't even know they have one. Your data is quietly prepared for disclosure, and you are now algorithmically of interest. Welcome to Pre-Crime Policing version 16.0. First of all, consent is impossible. So let's address the biggest lie Apple is telling you. That you are in control, that you have choices, that the system respects your autonomy. Let's be clear, you cannot opt out of the iPhone 16's AI surveillance regime. There's no off switch for the scanning. There's no setting to disable semantic analysis of your text messages across all apps. There's no menu to view or to delete the behavioral profile it builds on you. Even advanced users like developers and reverse engineers can't meaningfully inspect the surveillance layers. That's because they're baked deep into the operating system, which runs below the app layer. They are indistinguishable from essential system services. Apple obfuscates the actual functionality behind euphemisms like machine learning, optimization, predictive assistance, on-device intelligence. These phrases do not alert the user to the fact that their every tap, image, message, and location ping is being absorbed, assessed, and judged. When Apple introduced the now paused CSAM detection system, it claimed the image scanning algorithm would only flag known abusive material. But the technical documentation revealed far more. The scanning system could be reconfigured remotely by Apple to detect basically any image type. The threshold for reporting could be adjusted from the server side. And the databases of hashes, that's the list of the illegal images, was opaque, unaudible, and government controlled. That system was paused, but its engine and the precedent it created remains alive. Today, Apple uses similar architectures to scan for behavioral cues, not just images. And unlike the CSAM system, these newer tools were never even announced. You didn't consent because you never were given the option. Your only choice is to stop using the device. And in a world of platform monopolies, that's not a real choice at all. And now it comes. Apple's greatest trick wasn't building this machine. It was marketing it as a feature. Think about it. They took core components of state surveillance, real-time behavioral analysis, pre-crime flagging, image inspection, centralized risk scoring, think China, and they wrapped it in the bow of user personalization. The trick was to turn total data control into a selling point, and they succeeded. They replaced open, warrantless surveillance with closed, opaque systems hidden inside your very own phone. And best of all, they did it while maintaining the image as privacy's last defender. I mean, you have to let this sink in. On-device privacy, they say, private AI, you stay in control. But these phrases mean nothing if you can't see, stop or audit what's really happening in your pocket. They have created a privacy theater, a dazzling performance of user empowerment, behind which the machinery of coercion churns uninterrupted. It's not just Orwellian, it's worse, because it's voluntary, it's embraced, it's fashionable. Now is maybe a good point to zoom out for a moment, because this isn't just about Apple. It's about the future of your autonomy. Your iPhone 16 is the prototype of a broader trend. Devices that self-monitor, AI that classifies users silently, platforms that act on algorithmic suspicion, a public that never knows it's being profiled. We are witnessing the transition from user-centric design to control-centric architecture. And Apple wants the company that ran a Super Bowl ad warning us about Big Brother, has become Big Brother's favorite subcontractor. Your photos are no longer memories, they're evidence. Your texts are no longer private, they are parsed for tone and sentiment analysis. Your phone is no longer loyal to you, it's loyal to the surveillance state, to algorithmic control, and to plausible deniability for its very own master. We are sliding without a debate into a future where devices no longer obey their own owners. They obey their training data, their risk models, their legal advisors. So how do we call all of this? This moment where you carry a device that monitors you, judges you, scores you, and even might betray you. We call it progress, we call it safety, we call it Apple intelligence. But don't be fooled. You didn't get a smarter phone. Instead, you lost your private life. The iPhone 16 isn't your assistant. It's your analyst, your interrogator, your probation officer. And every time you tap it, every time you speak to it, every time you unlock it with your face, you're feeding it. Feeding the profile, feeding the system, feeding the next quiet betrayal. Because privacy didn't die with a scandal, it died with a smile and a pop-up that said, "Welcome to your most personal iPhone yet. Congratulations." And for those who say they don't have anything to hide, so they don't have to worry, well, that's like saying you don't care about free speech because you don't have anything to say. Before we now finish this up, let me just say I wrote a Substack article that gives you a bit more information about this very same topic. And I did a piece here on Rumble or YouTube on digital fingerprinting. In it I explore how companies like Google, Facebook, Twitter and others harvest and use your information in a way you probably never thought about. Both links are in the description below. Thanks for watching and don't forget, always look beyond the headlines.